You might have heard this term bantied around a little bit on the In Goal Radio podcast. Soon enough, you will probably start hearing it in mainstream sports media, and maybe they're not going to really understand exactly what it means. So I am going to tell you exactly what it means so that once you know, you'll actually start seeing it in some of your favorite NHL goalies.
And what a tremendous save by Andre Vasilevsky. You think you have an empty net goal and think again. Did you see that?
Welcome to Goalie Training Pro TV. This week we are talking outer range power. If you're new here, my name is Maria Mountain. I'm an exercise physiologist who specializes in off-ice training for goalies. I've helped over 10,000 goalies get a wider butterfly flare using my free Butterfly Challenge app. Just go to your app store, search Butterfly Challenge. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe. If you are already subscribed, make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any of the videos. I publish new videos every Wednesday, post them right up at high noon. Now here's something that you might not know about strength training or muscle physiology. That is that strength is developed based on the specific pattern and the specific range of motion that you use when you're training it. So just because you've made your legs strong in one pattern doesn't mean they're going to be strong in another pattern. Okay, well why are you telling me this? How does this help me as a goalie? I'm glad you asked. So I want you to think of your big 2 or big 3 leg strength exercises that you use in the off season, that you really use to build that envelope of maximum strength in your legs, and then translating that strength into peak power. So think of what they are in your head. And if you're in Game Winning Goalie Formula or turning pro, you don't count because I'm already giving you all the answers. But think, what are those big 3? So it might have been single leg squat, which would be great. Single leg, more functional than bilateral, requires hip stability, balance. Great exercise. Maybe you thought front squat. Maybe it was a deadlift or some kind of deadlift variation. Even if it was like a lunge lateral or something, getting some frontal plane movement. That's great that you're getting frontal plane, but let's look at the range of motion where you're producing all that force compared to what you need as a goalie on the ice. If I'm doing a single leg squat, a barbell squat, a squat lateral or a lunge lateral, even a deadlift, what is that range of motion that I'm using? What is the movement pattern? What are the angles in which I'm building strength? In all those 3 examples, I'm building strength in this neutral range. So with my feet about hip width apart. What's one of the things you hear more goalie coaches talk about now? It's narrowing the stance. One of the reasons they narrow the stance is obviously there aren't so many gaps in you. You don't have your, a big 5-hole there, like say hello. But what's another reason? Another reason I hear goalie coaches say they want a narrower stance is that goalies don't have power. They don't have power from their wide stance, which is very true. But why don't they have power from a wide stance? They don't have power from a wide stance because they never train power in a wide stance position. And that's a position that I started calling outer range power several years ago. Now, I've heard it get confused with strength at length, because that's another concept that I talk about a lot when we're talking about improving functional mobility, is that we need to build strength in those lengthened positions. That is different from outer range power. Outer range power has more to do with really the placement of your foot, of your body in that outer range, outside the center of mass. What's actually happening is, or what's actually required is strength at short. It doesn't rhyme as well. Strength at length sounds way better. Strength at short is what we need though for outer range power. Again, let me explain. So when I talk about strength at length, I'm talking about putting this muscle in a lengthened position, creating max isometric force or whatever type of muscular action we're doing to build strength in that length and position. When I'm talking outer range power, it's this same position. It's about generating power, or generating speed from this outstretched position. And it's true, we're never going to be as explosive from an extended position as we are from a loaded or from an optimal position. There's what's called a length tension curve, and our muscles can produce more force, you know, in a sweet spot. There's like a sweet spot in the middle where we can produce the maximum amount of force, and then at either end, when we're either, you know, really compacted or really extended, we're able to produce less force. But that's not to say we can't dramatically improve how much force and power we can produce in these extended positions. So really, if I'm looking at, let's say I've kind of reached here with this pad, but then the play is reversed the other direction, and I need to just quickly grab some ice here and get a very quick power push across, I'm in a shortened position of the muscles that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use, let's say I'm going to predominantly use my quadriceps and my glutes, maybe a bit of my abductors to get that push across. Well, you can see my knee's almost straight, so my quads are in a shortened position, not a lengthened position. My glutes are in a shortened position. They're close to actually the resting position. So that's what outer range refers to in this case. It's the outer range of my body part, not the length of my muscles.
And what a save. You don't try that at home or you're going to end up in the emergency room.
There are a lot of ways that we can train this, and a lot of ways I work it into my programs. What I mostly want you to get from this video today is a really thorough understanding of what it is. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how you can train it, both from a strength perspective and a power perspective, just to help drive it home for you. So let's start with a really basic exercise that we would do from our stance. I'm using the Anchor pulley system for this one. You could also use a resistance band or a regular cable column. It doesn't really matter. What I typically do is just bring this around and kind of hook it on my hip. So I want this to be a lateral force rather than a vertical force. And then I'm in a wide, low stance. And I'm just doing a little hip shift, but pushing in that outer range. So I'm not sort of coming from here, pushing out through my full range. I'm staying wide and just working that outer range. And I'm not trying to be overly explosive. I'm really more trying to work strength, not letting my hip get back over my foot, staying wide, working that outer range strength. You saw me talk about overcoming isometrics in that in-season workout for Carey Price video I did. It's here in case you missed it. But the really nice thing about overcoming isometrics is we can be very specific with our angle. So this is going to be an outer range. I've got my foot set well outside my base of support, well outside my hips, and then I'm going to generate that maximum force like I'm trying to move this concrete wall for 5 seconds. And I could do that overcoming isometric from that stance position, or from a low stance, or from my butterfly position, you know, and again, both would be specific to the angle, so you need to work both of them. Are you getting what I'm putting down here? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Let me know in the comments if you're kind of like, yeah, I get it, or if it's like, no, you're just completely confusing me now. Let's look next at how we can train it to improve power. I'll just give you a few examples. Like I said before, there's a million things we could do. There's a million different techniques and superset combos that we use to train it. I'm just trying to give you a snapshot of the concept, not so much a program to specifically train it right now. When we train the power, we're not going to use a ton of overload. We want just enough resistance to work against. Remember, the movements have to be fast. They have to be explosive. So the volume would also stay low, like 4 reps or less. But we're going to get in this wide stance again. And instead of just doing a hip shift like we did for strength, now I'm actually trying to push as far as I can, but not let myself come back to optimally load each time. I want to stay and get that rapid deceleration, acceleration in this outer range position. I could do the same thing from my butterfly. So I'm just holding this here. It's a light amount of resistance, but I've got this foot outside. Watch, because what you'll want to do is lean in and go. You'll want to kind of load and go because you're not used. This really feels quite awkward when you start. And then I just reset each time. And if you're a big time shuffler like me, I'm not very good at doing the T-push, so I rely heavily on my shuffles. I'll do the same kind of thing. I'll stay nice and wide and just quick shuffles. Back, back. These will definitely feel super awkward until you get the hang of it, because again, you're used to training in that neutral position. Once we get wide, your body's like, ooh, I'm not really exactly sure what to do. This isn't the place to start with your off-ice goalie training. So if you don't have a good background in goalie-specific mobility, functional strength, regular plyometrics, this isn't the place to start. Just bookmark this video, save it for later, and come back to it when you're ready. And if you're kind of thinking like, yeah, I'm not ready for that yet, I don't even have good mobility, I don't even have wide butterfly flare yet, then I've got the answer. Download that butterfly challenge, search for the app in your app store. I'll put a link in the description, but that's free, so start with that. If you don't have a good goalie specific strength, or even a basics of speed and agility for goalies, then definitely check out the 10 Secret Habits of Pro Goalies. It's a playlist I made for you. It's totally free. There are 10 videos, and 8 of those videos are workout videos. So 2 of them are mobility, 2 are functional strength, 2 are speed, I think 2 are stamina as well. There's some hand-eye stuff in there. So just work your way through those videos in sequence and go through that like 3 times just to sort of build up a little bit of a base. And then you probably want to look at something like, if you're serious about it. If you're just like not serious, then that's okay too. But if you're serious about reaching your potential as a goalie, then you probably would want to look at something like the Game Winning Goalie Formula that we can talk. I'll put a link in the description below to see if that's something that you're ready for. If you want to see other examples of some of the specific exercises I use to build outer range power in goalies, then check out this video. And before I bust out of here, I'm going to ask you to pretty please, with sugar on top, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. If you've already subscribed, hit the bell. That way you don't miss any videos. And I will see you next Wednesday at high noon with another action-packed video. See ya.